With the reveal of the Xbox Series S, there have been a number of questions in regards to the backwards compatibility that this particular console does provide. So we're going to be going into deep details in regards to what this offers, what sort of improvements you're going to have, and to try to clear up any confusion on this particular support for this platform. So obviously you have the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X. We have a video where we went over what backwards compatibility will look like on the Series X, and now we're talking about the Series S, which is the all-digital, cheaper Xbox option into the next generation. So to start off, initially going through the details here, Xbox One X enhancements will not be supported on Xbox Series S. So that includes things such as 4K, HDR, better performance. Now that doesn't sound great, but it's actually not that big of a deal, because instead of the Xbox One X enhancements, there's going to be Xbox Series S optimizations. And while we don't have full details on what those provide, we do have the gist of the information as to what they're trying to bring in. So they're going to essentially run the Xbox One S versions of these older games. So keep in mind that the focus here with this console, it's to be all digital, to keep all your games from previous generations, which we'll talk about more in a sec, and it's also to provide gaming at 1440p, 60 FPS, or up to 120 FPS. Now with that, there's going to be Series S optimizations like we just mentioned. So they're going to apply things such as improved texture filtering, higher and more consistent frame rates, faster load times, and auto HDR across all the generations of Xbox. So we're going to be talking about the backwards compatibility aspect. So like with the Series X, this is going to support the Xbox One, it's going to support the Xbox 360, and it's going to support the original Xbox. Only the titles that have become backwards compatible. So for Xbox One, all games are expected to be backwards compatible, except for the Kinect titles. Moving past that, for Xbox 360, any of the backwards compatible titles that were playable on Xbox One should also be all playable on Xbox Series S, and the same with the original Xbox titles that were available to play on Xbox One should all be available on Xbox Series S. And with that, additional titles also being added over time is hopefully the goal for that particular program that they're still working towards, but currently they're just wanting to make sure that all of the older titles do work and that they have the licensing and everything sorted out, because that's also something you have to take into consideration. So while we're not going to be seeing Xbox One X enhanced versions of these older games, we're going to be seeing great improvements to that experience. So just what they've confirmed is what I've said so far, but they have been playing around with the idea of improving older games in regards to the FPS, so we may very well see boosts to FPS games that were locked at, say, 30 or even maybe 60, and we're going to have to wait and see what exactly they're going to do there, because they say that more details are going to be coming soon. But I'm hoping that this kind of just dives into the essential details and gives you context into what you're going to be getting when you are jumping onto this particular platform. So Series X games will also be optimized to backwards compatible offerings. All your old titles across all the generations are going to be boosted there. They're just very likely going to run at a higher resolution option than you're going to see on the Series S. This by no means will make your games run any worse than they will on Series X. They just won't have the necessary visual resolution that the Series X will over the Series S. Now with that, with the backwards compatible option, you will have to have the digital version of the game, because the Xbox Series S does not have a disk drive. So keep that in mind if you're planning on playing those older games, that you do need to have a digital copy in order to do so, which may be an issue for some individuals that have been building a disk library over time. Now to help deal with that, there is Xbox Game Pass, which is obviously a great offering that will now include EA Play. And EA Play on top of that, along with Game Pass, will include a number of 360 and OG Xbox titles for you to play as well. So keeping in mind that there are tons of improvements, let's dig into some of them a little bit further. So auto HDR is the idea that they're going to be able to add HDR into games from generations where HDR wasn't even a thing. So those original Xbox games will look almost entirely different with this applied. As you get that dynamic lighting in there, it's going to look fantastic. When it comes to faster load times, you're going to see basically the old long slow loading of the past basically be erased with the power of the SSD that is present, along with a number of other systems that are available in these next generation consoles in order to cut that down. So instead of waiting in an elevator, or, well, I mean, you might still wait in an elevator a little bit, but instead of having those blanket loading screens pop up, they're basically just going to fly across the screen and you're going to get right back into your game. They're also going to have this great thing where you can be playing part of, say, Halo Combat Evolved, so you're moving through the middle of it. You stop there, you flip over to another game, say Mass Effect 2, play a little bit there, stop what you're doing, jump over to yet another game, say SSX 3, and then jump back into Halo Combat Evolved. And you can keep all of those instances running at the same time, so you can jump into your games faster without having to wait to reload the game or reload the saves or anything like that. Your games are also going to start up faster, everything's going to run significantly quicker, and it's going to be great to get into if you are wanting to revisit those older games and not have to wait a long time. Again, you're going to see that applied to the old Xbox One titles, the Xbox 360 titles, and the original Xbox games as well. So it's really quite a great offering. So like with the One X enhancements that we've been seeing over the last few years, those really did boost the visual quality of the OG Xbox games and the Xbox 360 games. So what they're suggesting here is the idea that they're going to boost those original Xbox games, those Xbox 360 games, and those Xbox One games when you're playing them on Xbox Series S. So those games are going to look far better than they ever did, with the chance of having a higher FPS to them so that they're more fluid and bring a higher quality and style to them, which is absolutely fantastic to see, and I think it's going to be great for those that are wanting to revisit and dive deep into their traditional and existing digital libraries. And while I wish I had the exact details in regards to the resolution you're going to be seeing or the FPS you're going to be seeing, those details will be available in the near future, but I thought this might be helpful in order to really get a clear grasp on what it does provide. It's going to make your older games that you've loved over the years in your digital library look better than ever, run faster than ever, load quicker, perform better, and it's going to be really great to dive into your existing library and to see just what that can provide across all these generations of Xbox. All the games you've loved and played are all going to be available and carried forward, as this console really is something that is, here for today, but wanting to push your game library from the past into tomorrow. And I think that's truly special. It's also going to have support for your existing Xbox One peripherals, your different controllers, all the little things that you bought for your console over the generation. You're going to be able to keep using those with your old games and with your new games too. So I hope you did find this helpful. If you do have any questions about what this provides, let me know. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you found it helpful, be sure to like it so that others are able to check it out. And of course, subscribing is cool too if you'd like to do that. So to summarize, Xbox Series S will be backwards compatible with the original Xbox. Xbox 360, Xbox One, it's going to run those games better. It's going to improve their resolution, possibly their FPS to a degree. They'll have auto HDR, faster loading, faster performance. They're going to look better than ever, and they're going to be a great experience once again for you to enjoy. And I hope you found this helpful.